Welcome to Tech Talks with Kinsoft. We're here to unpack some recent, really critical information from a stack of sources, stuff that impacts you, the listener, especially if you're tracking how tech shapes our world, and, importantly, its security. Today, we're looking at something that's, well, it's been all over the headlines and, frankly, sending a few shivers through the travel industry.
Yeah, major cyber attacks targeting airlines.
Exactly. We've got some fascinating, maybe a bit concerning insights from reports about Qantas and Hawaiian Airlines.
That's right. And our goal today is really to cut through the noise, look at the specifics of what happened in these incidents,
Okay.
and understand why they signal a pretty significant step up in cybersecurity threats for the whole aviation sector. We'll look at, not just what happened, but the bigger picture. What does this mean for how organizations, especially airlines, need to adapt? Because the landscape is changing fast.
Right. So let's start with Qantas. That breach you mentioned from July 2nd, they called it significant. What exactly got exposed there, and how does an airline that big even get hit like that?
Yeah, it was serious. Qantas confirmed it, called it significant, like you said. It affected up to 6 million customers.
6 million. Wow.
Yeah, huge number. The compromised data. It included personal details, names, emails, phone numbers, dates of birth, even frequent flyer numbers.
Okay.
Now, crucially, Qantas was quick to point out that no financial data or passport info was taken. That's obviously a relief.
Definitely.
But still, the sheer amount of personal information, PII as it's called, makes this one of the most serious breaches in Australian aviation history. I mean, for a customer, just knowing your basic details and travel history might be out there, even without the financial stuff. That's really unsettling.
Yeah, absolutely. And how did it happen? Was it like a direct assault on their main systems
Yeah?
or something? Well, something sneakier.
Well, this is what's really eye-opening. The breach didn't actually happen through Qantas's main internal systems.
Yeah.
No, it came through a third-party platform, one used by their call center.
The vendor risk.
Exactly. It highlights this persistent, maybe underestimated vulnerability, relying on outside vendors. And in aviation, it's not just about any vendor. The supply chain has this unique fragility. Imagine a tiny software patch in some third-party flight planning tool.
Yeah.
And that one vulnerability could potentially ground an entire fleet. That's the kind of risk we're looking at now.
So what did Qantas do?
Well, they acted fast. Shut down the affected systems, started notifying customers. They even put in place extra ID checks for frequent flyer account changes.
Right. And then there was this other twist, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Just last week, Qantas said they were contacted by someone claiming responsibility, a potential cyber criminal. That seems unusual.
It is unusual. Definitely adds another layer to their response.
Yeah.
The source material doesn't spell out if they demanded ransom or what the contact was about exactly. But, direct contact like that, it could be for ransom, could be for publicity, maybe even to prove they can do it for future extortion. It's a bold move anyway. Shows the attackers want to be seen.
And Qantas is working with the police on that.
Yeah, the Australian Federal Police, the AFP, they're trying to verify the contact and help with the ongoing investigation.
Okay. And the public reaction, the CEO apologized, right?
Yes. Vanessa Hudson issued a public apology, emphasized her taking it seriously, aiming for transparency. Understandably, it's caused a lot of stress for millions of customers.
I bet.
They've apparently had over 5,000 customer inquiries already. And there's even talk, murmurs of a potential class action lawsuit. People are drawing parallels to other big Australian breaches like Optus and Medibank.
Right, where there were significant compensation claims.
Exactly. So it's clear this isn't just some IT glitch. It's a massive issue of customer trust.
And it's unsettling because, as you said, Qantas wasn't alone. Just days before that news broke, there was another big warning, this time from the FBI.
Yeah, that's right.
Naming Hawaiian Airlines specifically, talking about a coordinated cybercrime campaign. How does that fit in?
It fits perfectly, unfortunately. It shows a clear pattern, a worrying trend of escalating ransomware attacks hitting airlines globally. Now, Hawaiian Airlines didn't confirm they were actually breached successfully, but the FBI advisory was crystal clear. They described the attackers as persistent and technically advanced. This isn't just random hacking. It feels like a strategic, coordinated effort. They're looking for weak spots across the whole aviation ecosystem.
Like what kind of weak spots?
Often things like gaps in employee training, maybe outdated IT systems, and crucially, those third-party access controls we just talked about with Qantas.
Right.
It really drives home that this isn't just bad luck for one airline. It's part of a bigger, evolving threat.
And when the FBI says sophisticated methods, What are we actually talking about? It's
Yeah.
not just phishing emails anymore, is it?
Oh, far from it.
Hmm.
The FBI warning detailed tactics that show a real shift towards, well, psychological manipulation and pretty advanced deception. They mentioned the ransomware group using social engineering tactics, basically tricking people, but also deep fake technology and even insider impersonation to try and get into sensitive systems.
Deepfakes, wow.
Yeah. And connecting this back, it really confirms that even, say, regional carriers like Hawaiian Airlines aren't safe anymore. They're not off the radar. The threat landscape is just expanding so fast. No airline, big or small, seems immune.
You mentioned a ransomware group. Our sources suggest a group called Scattered Spider might be behind at least one of these, maybe Qantas, given the methods. Who are they? What makes them different?
Ah, Scattered Spider, yes. They really burst onto the scene, gained notoriety in 2023. They hit some big names in hospitality and entertainment, MGM Resorts, Caesars Entertainment.
I remember that.
Right. And their defining trait is, well, they're unconventional and deceptive methods. They're not primarily trying to break through firewalls in the classic sense.
So what are they doing?
They're masters of social engineering. They use things like SIM swapping, getting control of someone's phone number to intercept texts or calls, and help desk impersonation, pretending to be IT support to trick employees into giving up their passwords or credentials.
So it's less about the tech vulnerabilities and more about exploiting people, weaponizing trust itself.
Precisely. They go after the human element, the weakest link. So traditional defenses like firewalls, they're becoming less effective against groups like this.
That's concerning.
And it gets worse. What's truly unsettling is how they're using deepfake video calls.
You mentioned that. How does that work?
Imagine getting a video call. It looks and sounds like your CEO or maybe the head of IT asking you to do something urgent. Transfer funds, grant access.
But it's not them.
Exactly. It's a sophisticated deepfake. They also do these multi-factor authentication fatigue attacks, or MFA fatigue.
What's that?
They basically spam an employee's phone with login approval requests over and over again until the employee just hits approve by mistake, just to make the notifications stop.
Ugh, I can see how that would work.
Right. Combine that with stolen credentials, maybe bought off the dark web or phished earlier, and they can get initial access pretty quickly. And it's incredibly hard to spot. They really prioritize stealth and psychological tricks over brute force hacking. It's a tough defense challenge when your own people are, unknowingly helping the attackers.
That shift towards the psychological targeting people, it sounds incredibly difficult to defend against.
Yeah.
So what does all this mean for the wider aviation industry, especially with groups like Scattered Spider out there?
Well, these incidents, Qantas, the FBI warning, they're really symptoms of a much bigger systemic issue. Airlines are just such high-value targets.
Why specifically airlines?
Several reasons. First, they handle massive amounts of personal data, PII, from millions of people.
Right, names, travel plans.
More than that. Travel patterns, meal preferences, loyalty points, sometimes even medical needs. That data is gold for identity thieves, for crafting targeted phishing attacks, even for intelligence gathering by other bad actors. Second, airlines often rely heavily on legacy systems. Think about reservation platforms, flight ops software, maybe even air traffic control interfaces that could be decades old.
Running on old code.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And updating them isn't simple. It's not just a software patch. It's often a massive, multi-year, multi-million-dollar project. You have to plan meticulously to avoid disrupting flights.
Yeah, you can't just turn it off and on again.
Exactly. So it leaves these systems hard to secure against modern, agile threats without causing chaos. And third, like we saw so clearly with Qantas, they use tons of third-party vendors. This creates this huge digital supply chain. A vulnerability in one small vendor could be the entry point for attackers to get into the airline's main network.
It sounds like a perfect storm, really. Valuable data, complex old systems, tangled supply chains.
It is. It's not just these vulnerabilities alone. It's how they all connect. Airlines are like these digital cities in the sky. Everything from baggage handling to navigation relies on these complex, sometimes ancient digital links. A breach somewhere isn't just a data leak. It can ripple through operations, safety, even national infrastructure.
That paints a pretty stark picture. And does it vary globally? Are airlines in some regions better prepared than others?
Absolutely, there are differences. The sources point to inconsistent cybersecurity regulations and enforcement across regions like Southeast Asia, EMEA, Latin America.
How so?
Well, you have the EU's GDPR, which is quite strict. Clear rules, big potential fines. But other regions, say Thailand with its PDPA or Brazil with LGPD, They're improving data protection, definitely, but they often still lack aviation-specific enforcement mechanisms.
So the rules aren't tailored.
Not always, or the enforcement isn't as robust. And the problem is, a breach often hits passengers from many different countries, so the airline has to navigate this patchwork of laws. GDPR might demand quick, strict action. But if an airline operates mainly where data laws are newer or less mature, they might face fewer immediate penalties or have less clear obligations. This creates different incentives for investing in security and how they respond to breaches globally. It leads to fragmented security levels and a confusing legal mess when things go wrong.
Okay, so given this escalating threat, these sophisticated tactics from groups like Scattered Spider, what's the urgent advice for airlines? How do they protect themselves and us, their customers, from what sounds almost inevitable?
Well, cybersecurity experts are really urging immediate proactive steps. Top of the list is investing in things like managed detection and response, or MDR services.
MDR, what's that practically?
Think of it like having an expert security team watching your digital footprint 24/7. They're constantly looking for threats, ready to jump in the moment something suspicious pops up, not just reacting after you know you've been breached.
Okay, proactive monitoring.
Exactly. Also, doing regular, thorough security audits, finding and fixing vulnerabilities before the attackers do, and crucially, implementing really strict vendor risk assessments, locking down those third-party doors.
Makes sense.
Because the cost of not doing this, it could be truly catastrophic. We're talking grounded fleets, reputation shattered for years, massive customer distrust, which for an airline, that can be fatal.
Yeah, it's clearly not just an IT department problem anymore, is it? It's fundamental to operations, to safety, to the bottom line. I mean, imagine your flight's delayed for hours, not because of weather, but because the airline's booking system is locked down by ransomware. That's the real-world impact. So these Qantas and Hawaiian Airlines incidents, they really are a wake-up call, aren't they, for the whole global aviation industry?
Absolutely.
Whether it's through those vulnerable third-party systems or this incredibly clever social engineering, the message seems undeniable. The threat is real, and it's evolving fast.
And it raises a big question, really, for all businesses, not just airlines. How proactive are you in preparing for threats like Scattered Spider? It just underscores this critical need for organizations to see cybersecurity not as some IT cost center, but as a core operational priority.
Meaning what specifically?
Meaning investing in ongoing employee education, having real-time threat detection like MDR, and really robust controls over third-party access. Because this isn't just an aviation issue. The supply chain weaknesses we're seeing here, that's a blueprint for attacks on almost any industry that relies on complex digital connections.
It is a complex landscape, no doubt. But hopefully, understanding these trends like we've tried to do today is that first step towards building stronger defenses. And that brings us to the end of Tech Talks with Kinsoft for today. We hope this exploration into aviation cybersecurity has given you some valuable insights, maybe help connect some dots on this really critical topic.
Yeah, and if these kinds of discussions make you think about your own organization's security posture, your IT needs, whether you're in aviation or any sector facing these digital challenges, we really encourage you to visit www.kinsoft.com.au.
That's www.kinsoft.com.au.
Their team is ready to help you navigate these complex issues and work towards securing your digital future.
Great advice. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Tech Talks with Kinsoft.